Hi, very good evening. सभी को नमस्कार. A warm welcome to third day of 20th World Education Summit Higher Education on 24 September 2021. And here we are our showstopper panel of this World Education Summit with most important topic in current education era. Here we are going to discuss and deliberate on the topic attracting students from overseas countries for higher education in India. Right now, we are seeing that higher education is becoming the global hub, and many students are seeking to study in the higher education. So, what are the challenges? What are the opportunities? How we can overcome and increase the student enrollment in this higher education? So to discuss and deliberate, I would like to invite the speakers of the session. So first of all, I would like to invite Dr. Pramod Kumar Naik, Vice Chancellor, AISECT University. Welcome, Pramod sir. Welcome to the World Education Summit. Thank you for giving your precious time to us. Pramod sir, can you unmute yourself?
Hello. Are you
Yes,
listening
yes,
to me?
yes,
Are you listening to
yes.
me? Okay.
And I would like to welcome Professor Dr. Ajay Poddar, Pro Vice Chancellor, Om Sterling Global University from Hisar. Welcome, Ajay sir. Thank you for giving your precious time to us. It's always a pleasure to have you on the World Education Summit, sir.
Thank you.
And I would like to welcome Professor Dr. Dhruva Ghai, Pro Vice Chancellor, Oriental University, Indore. Welcome, Dhruva sir.
Thank you.
Namaskar,
Thank
sir.
you.
Thank you for giving your
Namaskar.
precious time, sir. And I would like to welcome Professor Pradeep Nair, Professor and Director Research, Central University of Himachal Pradesh, Dharamshala. Dhanyawad Pradeep sir. Thank you for accepting our invitation, sir. And I would like to welcome Professor P. Srinivas Subbarao, Dean and Director, School of Management, Dr. Vishwanath, MIT World Peace University, Pune. Thank you, Subbarao sir, for accepting our invite and giving your precious time to World Education Summit. And I would like to invite the speaker and moderator of this session, Dr. Ramandeep Saini, Director Principal, Chandigarh Business School of Administration. Thank you, Dr. Ramandeep. Thank you for accepting our invite as a moderator plus a speaker and giving your precious time to us. So I would like to request all the audience, as the topic is very important for the higher education for the each institutes to not cater from the Indian domain, from the overseas domain also. So if you have any question in your mind, please put your question. Our speaker will take it live if it's relevant to this particular topic. So by not taking much time, I will hand over this virtual dice to our moderator, Dr. Ramandeep Saini. Ma'am, dice is yours, ma'am. So we are looking forward for the wonderful discussion, ma'am.
Thank you, Abhishek once again for inviting me to be a panelist in this panel discussion in 20th World Education Summit. And I appreciate the selection of the topic because it's very apt, attracting students from overseas countries for higher education in India. And all kudos to you for setting up this panel constituting of all the distinguished, academicians and stalwarts. And, they have already made a significant contribution to the field of higher education. So I look forward to a very fruitful discussion, and I sincerely hope that all the listeners get to have very relevant takeaways from today's discussion. So let me just make the opening remarks here because as we all know, India since early times has been considered as Vishwaguru, and it still continues to be promoted as a global study destination, providing premium education and that too at affordable cost. The Indian education system is the world's third largest higher education system, and tentatively we have more than 800 universities, around 39,000 colleges, and a capacity of enrolling more than a whopping 20 million students. In spite of these amazing facts, we still have to acknowledge the fact that we haven't been able to project India as a preferred destination for international students. Even the countries like UAE, China, Singapore, they are also becoming increasingly attractive destinations, because they have very simplified, platforms where you can set up joint ventures, you can open up and own international branch campuses of international universities. So I strongly believe that India can learn from these models, and then just we can customize the model, and we can just decide how to further penetrate into this market, and how we can be the next big education hub globally. So friends, the question before us today is India actually ready to become a preferred destination for foreign students? I will now request my fellow panelists to kindly share their opinions, in response to this question, and we can start with Professor Nair. Nair, sir, can we have your opinion on this?
Okay, thank you, madam. First of all, I would like. Are you listening me?
Oh, okay. Yeah, Professor Pramod, yes, we can hear to you. My question was to Nair, sir, Professor Nair.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
So,
we are okay. You can go ahead with that.
okay. First of all, I would like to congrats the World Education team, Elets, that they have organized this such type of, or they are providing this type of platform where all the academicians get together and discuss upon the certain matters, whether it may be a higher education or internationalization of higher education or professional education or any whatever the matter in the field of education. So more congratulations to the group where they have arranged such type of. Now the thing is that whether what I feel and I think that now India is not so, all the universities of India not ready, not ready or not in a position to attract the overseas students in different courses. Not all the universities, but there are some universities. I have calculated that I have also gone through the some research papers, and I found that now the Kerala is the most important, the first state where the Kerala, the universities of Karnataka, the University of Karnataka, now they attract the attentions of the foreign students towards the MBBS courses, and most of the students from the Malaysia, they are coming and joined there as a students of MBBS, and rather the Pune is there, Symbiosis University is there also. They are also attracting the students from the foreign, and besides that, the Andhra Pradesh are there. So there are some universities, a few universities where facility is good, and where transportation is good, where communication is good. Communication in the sense that is language, and it has been seen that most of the foreign students, they like to study in the south side of the India, south corner of the India. Um, so we have to change some our educational strategy so that we can attract the attention of the students. For example, now till date we are following the traditional methods. Our education system is a traditional. It is everybody so now it is the publicity from the mouth of the everybody that the Indian education system is based on the theoretical background, and very few practicals is there. So far as it is listening in the National Education Policy 2020, now it reduces this gap, going to reduce the gap and provide the liberal education, giving much more importance upon the liberal education. So some modification is there. We find some modification in the National Education Policy 2020, and also whenever I gone through the paper, I found that one word that now the government of India, now he runs one program, that is Study in India program. Study in India program was initiated by the government of India, and on that program, now he add 2,000 more students in different Indian universities for higher education. So definitely we are taking the initiative, and we are trying to do our the best to attract the attention of the foreign students. But there are some lacuna, and we have to comply that. Thank you, madam.
Thank you, Professor Naik, and very rightly put up, we have a long way to go. And though there have been some strong initiatives by the government, and I'll come back to these initiatives later. And can I ask Professor Dhruva now to share his opinion, whether
Yeah,
he thinks India is actually ready?
thank you, Dr. Ramandeep Saini. Very interesting and relevant points by Professor Nayak, and with respect to the panel. Yeah, I mean, we are getting there, but we will take some time. So, as Professor Nayak had spoken about the new education policy, the new education policy has made things flexible for us. So primarily the topics, the points are that, they have introduced the multiple entry and exit points. So, if a student leaves school after 1 year, he spends 1 year in school, he gets a certificate. He spends 2 years, he gets a diploma. 3 years, he gets a bachelor's. 4 years, he gets a bachelor's with honors. So we have the multiple entry and exit points. Then we have the academic credit, bank credit. So, the student, there can be gaps in the education. So, because foreign students are used to that. If you want to complete your degrees a year late, a couple of years later, you can carry forward your credit bank. So those kind of provisions that NEP is bringing in, they are helpful, they are useful. And apart from this, there is also the talk of liberal arts arts being merged. Not only promoting science. NEP talks not only about promoting scientific research but also about promoting arts. So that is again going to lead to a lot of interdisciplinary research, in lot of interdisciplinary programs. To give you an example, we have these major minor concept of major and minor, where you have, you want to do a BTech in computer science, but you want to do a minor in finance. So that is very useful because, a lot of computer scientists nowadays get hired by finance industry. Banks, fintech, the fintech industry which is coming up. There's a lot of tech involved there, like blockchain, etc., which needs the background in computer science. So again, the NEP initiative is very good. Just to touch upon a few other things, recently even our IITs have started approaching other countries, have started going out to other countries. The prestigious IIT joint entrance examination, which is conducted every year in India for the bachelor's program. In 2018-19, IITs have gone to other countries to conduct this, which have included some African countries, Addis Ababa, Singapore, Ethiopia, Dhaka, Dubai, and there was even a plan to conduct it in San Francisco, that is the US. So, but that did not happen because of COVID. Otherwise, IIT JEE would be conducted in the United States as well. So this is another initiative by our IITs to attract foreign students to their campus. That this is, of course, a concrete step. We also, to look at the preparation, we need to look at international rankings as well. Every day there is talk of rankings, where Indian institutes not many Indian institutes are featuring in the world rankings. We have our own ranking system like NIRF, NAC accreditation, NIRF ranking, etc. But those are not global rankings. So when we talk about featuring in the global rankings, it is only the IIMs, IITs, the ISBs which are featuring in these global rankings. So more institutes need to feature in that. I think OP Jindal featured recently in one of the Times Higher Education rankings. So THE, Times Higher Education, QS, and then the Chinese university ranking. Other than this, we also need to look at the other accreditations, international accreditations, like AMBA, that is the Association of MBAs, AACSB, that is for the US recognition, the Financial Times rankings, FT rankings, and other accreditation. So because these ISBs, IIMs, they do attract foreign students. They do have foreign exchange programs, although on a much smaller scale. But they are able to accommodate the student and create a learning environment for the foreign student. The private institutes still need to put in a lot of work. We also need to look at the parameters that these rankings measure and then work on those parameters. So those parameters actually give us guidelines, that these are the areas we want to improve, in case we want to attract the foreign student. And then there is also the factor of diversity. Because the incoming student is going to come in from a different culture. So there has to be a culture match. The student has to be made feel, we have to make the foreign student feel comfortable. See, even if we offer the best class education, the best education, but we don't. But there is a culture mismatch, or the student is uncomfortable in our in the environment. It is highly unlikely that another batch is going to come. It is highly likely that either that student is going to discontinue his or her studies and go back. So the student needs to be made feel welcome in the Indian campus, and a proper environment has to be created where the students can thrive. A cross-cultural exchange of cultures can happen. The students get to learn about our culture, our Indian students get to learn about their culture, and that is where a positive environment will be created. Other than this, of course, Dr. Naik has already touched upon the Study in India program. It is again a great initiative by our ministries. There are 4 ministries involved. That is the Ministry of Education, External Affairs, Home and Commerce. And there is an effort to attract foreign students from various countries. But at the same time, we need to be careful because, there is competition coming in from Asian countries as well. Setting up universities in Malaysia, Singapore. Singapore attracts many more foreign students than India. Singapore, Malaysia, China. So we have competition from other Asian countries as well. So we need to kind of, step on the gas and, start taking initiatives. So those are a couple of points. I think I have a couple more, but that would be it for now. That would be it for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ghai. That was very, correctly highlighted. We have to create a win-win situation, in fact, for all the international students. We have to make our global presence felt, and we have to strengthen up the entire ecosystem. So I'll move on to Professor Ajay Poddar. So can we have your opinion? Do you think we are ready? And can we? How can we scale up the number of international students coming to India for higher education?
Thank you. In fact, Dr. Nair and the Dr. Ghai has very nicely have portrayed that what is actually the status of Indian foreign education system. You see that from the many years, as we as a country, we always welcome the guest, and Atithi Deva Bhava has been attracting foreign students. But now, as the government is wanted that the India should also become a hub of education, and because of that reason, the Education India programs and other programs, what the both of the speaker has spoken, those things are coming up. However, what I actually thinks that we need to make an environment to the foreign students, so that the foreign students should feel comfortable while they are actually looking for the international standard curriculum and the qualification. So, as Dr. Ghai has spoken, that we should also have the affiliation and other accreditation from the international arena, so that whosoever students is studying in India or taking some qualification, that should be acceptable throughout the global arena. So that is one thing that we need to create an environment. Second, the thing is that the cultural differentiation or cultural transaction, that some of the students who are coming from the international, and when they are coming to India, our university should be reciprocate in their cultural change also. I've seen many of the
I think Professor Poddar is, as of now, he has a connectivity issue. Can I move on to Professor Pramod? We'll like to hear it from you.
Hello.
Hello. Sorry, I mixed up the names. Professor Nair, Pradeep Nair, sir.
Yeah, Ramandeep.
Yeah, am I audible now? Yeah. You're audible, sir. Kindly go ahead.
Yeah. So I 100% agree with my co-panelist But then again, if you look at the university system, the Indian university system, if we really want to attract students from other part of the world, we have to have a very flexible, our admission system is not that flexible, number one. If you look at other countries, even if you look at countries like New Zealand or Australia or Canada, they are able to attract a lot of students from other part of the world only because their academic system is very diverse and it is very flexible. But thanks to this NEP 2020, because of this multiple entries and multiple exist, and then this academic bank, credit, all that. So I hope that maybe now the universities of India, they will work towards attracting students from other part of the world. Especially we have a potential to have students from the neighboring countries. We have a lot of neighboring countries whose education infrastructure is lesser than us. So we have a better academic infrastructure than them, and we can also attract them to our campuses. But then many of the universities, what they lack, they don't have an international student cell, and our outreach program is not up to that level. So we need a very robust kind of outreach program so that we can reach out. We need more collaborations with institutions from other countries, so that at least students of other countries, they may have some kind of awareness of the kind of programs, academic programs, what we are offering. See, this country has a lot of potential. If you look at the programs in languages, if you look at programs in social sciences, or even programs in engineering and management, the kind of programs what we have, they have a kind of potential to attract students. But the only thing is that since there are less outreach efforts, so then there is also a need of international hostels, because the students who are coming from Europe or from United States or from other part of the world, they require a kind of you can say a kind of living experience, for which our hostels are not ready. Accommodation is another big problem. If students come to your campus, where you are going to make them stay? So like some university, if you take the example of Goa, although it's a state university, but still they have an international hostel. So you need international hostel, you need some kind of facilities, on the basis of which you may be able to attract students from other part of the world. You need a flexible, a kind of academic system where you can, take those students. The admission process may be different for them, because you can't follow the same kind of guidelines what we are following for the students, from our own country. So a lot of reforms are required, and right now we are not able to attract a large number of students because our system is not ready for that. But if we can really work out in the direction, and what Professor Ghai has very rightly pointed out, that we need a more flexible approach. Our system is not that much flexible right now. So if we can go for a flexible system, we may be able to attract more students, not only to IIM and IITs, but also to the like central universities like University of Hyderabad or JNU, or the recent all the new central universities which are in good locations. Like if you take the example of my university is in Dharamshala. It's a beautiful place. If you look, small hill town, Dalai Lama is here, the Tibetan presence is there. So, if you can develop some kind of infrastructure, and if you can go for an outreach program, you may be able to attract students from other part of the world. That is what my observation is.
Thank you, Professor Nair. A robust system, a flexible system, right, and increasing the outreach, very well pointed out. And I can sense this feeling, probably all of us, we really have high hopes from NEP. So let's see, because time is going to be the witness that how fast we move with these reforms which have been already announced through NEP 2020. And I think in coming few more minutes, we'll discuss more about NEP. I'll move on to Professor Subbarao. Sir, can we quickly have your opinion?
Yeah, thank you, madam. First of all, I thank Elets and the because my co-speakers, Professor Naik sir, Professor Dhruva ji, all they have addressed about the what are the challenges, particularly the internationalization of higher education in that. Actually, we are having a great ancient system of education. We are the Viswaguru for several years to the throughout the world, but later to the developments. But still, we are, suppose you can observe in that as per the placement data, top 200 Fortune companies out of 500 are recruiting the Indian students. And many Indian students from a premier institutes or various institutes are working as a CEO of the Google, Microsoft, various Nokia, many companies they are making in that. Many of these students from the different parts of the world, they have studied in India and various diplomatic positions in the world. For that, little modifications or changes in our academic system, we can easily attract in that. You can observe that every year, around 7.5 lakh students are going abroad and only 50,000 students are coming to India. Out of the 7.5 lakh students also, as per the information is not 15% of the students are only going to the top universities in the world. Remaining people are only studying abroad, that may be mediocre or a small universities. Only they are saying that my son or daughter is studying in US or maybe in Australia in that. They are not that much great in that, sir, compared to many of our institutions in that. Because there are certain few challenges, because the one way the government of India is making lot of efforts by NEP, Swayam, Gyan program, PM Scholar Return to India, and various programs they are making it in that. But there are certain challenges. What our speaker said of that quality of education, internationally acceptable infrastructure, and the safety. That is also most important when a foreign student studying in our country. Suppose if you can see the data, 70% of the students are male students, except in the medical. All the students are in undergraduate. That too, they are only for the male students are coming to that. Because they also chosen only certain areas of the Bangalore or maybe in Gurgaon or 3-4 places only in the country they are choosing because of the different factors, international mobility, the climate, cross-cultural management, and all these factors are influencing that. Unless we can provide these type of things, it is very difficult to attract the students in that. Because our university is also preparing a very well developed website, a lot of technology, but the practical, real, that student feedback and the student interest, their opinions, experience are neglecting in that. Generally, they are checking the foreign students will those areas in that. We can attract more students by making the 4 major initiatives. One is we can make a collaborate with our courses with industry and the international tie-ups, international top universities tie-up. And we can also establish educational hubs, like how we can develop SCZ, special educational, international educational hub like that. We can provide, suppose how Dubai has done, Singapore is doing, and Malaysia is doing that. When the small countries are doing, why can't we do? Because the bureaucracy, getting land, establishing the infrastructure, it is the biggest task for any foreign universities to enter into that. Because they have the money, but the investment and the bureaucratic system will take more delay in that. For that, many, suppose you take about the allowing the foreign universities bill is discussion from 1995 to it is materialized in 2020. Almost 25 years it will take by opposing the several leaders in the several political parties because of the different reasons in that. Because this is the most important, any foreign university want to start it in that. Because many foreign universities starting their branches in Bangkok, Singapore, Dubai in that. Then why can't we make it in that? Compared to these countries, the cost of living, cost of fees, the student which has to born is less compared to the other people in that. Regarding the scarcity of the faculty, that is worldwide, it is there. India has no exemption in that because majority of our universities are having around 25% of the shortage of faculty. This is not any one single university, is a global phenomenon in that. And the another important thing, what a foreign university student from a foreign university will see in that, they will check about that after completion of the course, what is my employability. Suppose a student will going to Canada, after completion of the post-graduation, he has to work there. After completion of 1 year MBA in UK, they are allowing for the next 2 years to work there. Because that is more attracting the Indian students to go abroad and study in that. Suppose if you can see that around $20 billion every year we are losing the foreign exchange because of the brain drain. When you establish with an international collaboration with the industry-oriented, industry tie-up courses, we can also stop our students going abroad, and we can also attract the foreign students to us in that. And the NEP is giving a lot of advantages of the flexibility, credit transfer, and that, but we have to wait and check how far many things may be practically possible. Because I'm personally feeling that you can see about the choice-based credit system which is introduced in our country, but many of my colleagues are saying that it is not choice-based, it is a confusion-based credit system, because many times it may not be possible in our university systems. Okay, every university is putting in the website, everywhere it is in that, but in reality a lot of challenges are there: faculty shortage, room shortage, timing limitations, all these that. Because we have to attract in that, we have to change our, particularly our system of the quality. We have to make that, because we also invite the international faculty to attract in that. Recently my university has made a policy that we are identified 100 professors from Australia, USA and UK to deliver the lectures of 20% of our syllabus will be handled by these professors, and we are paying huge amount to these foreign professors, especially they will take for our students in that, because it is a very expensive. But as a private university, we have taken the initiative and we are successful in that. Like that, lot of things, but it is possible. It is great advantage, because we have a great tradition and history of education in that. When people are talking about Nalanda, Takshashila, Vikrampuri and all, we can again make it in that it is a possible in that. This is my opinion about the internationalization. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Subbarao, and very well put up. And this becomes self-explanatory, because if I try to summarize, I think we all have a unanimous answer to my first question, which I posed to all of you. That yes, we strongly feel that we are still not ready to invite lots of students, and that becomes all the more disappointing, because we know that we have good infrastructures, we are delivering quality education, we have been known as Vishwaguru, and we were known as the world education leaders, and in spite of that, the current state of affairs is not very encouraging one. So I think a lot has to be done, and I was just looking at the time. We have already eaten up half of the time. So my next questions, I request all the panelists to be quick. So let me share quickly some figures here, because one of the panelists, I think a couple of you mentioned about Study in India initiative, because that was launched with a big bang. That was a flagship initiative of Ministry of Human Resource Development, launched in April 2018, and the goal set up was to have around 2 lakh international students for the next 5 years. And government also approved an expenditure of 150 crores for the program over 2018 and till 2020. And which was to be primarily used for outreach activities and the brand promotion activities. But it is very disheartening to know that we haven't been able to achieve much here in spite of this initiative taken by the government. So the 10th edition of All India Survey on Higher Education said that we had just 49,000 international students in 2019-20, and which was a little higher than around 47,000 which was in the previous year. So the things have not been going in the right direction. So let me quickly ask all of you, can you just let us know what are the 3 primary factors which influence the decision of international students whether they really want to go to India for international education or not? So I'll just quickly ask you, can you just highlight the 3 reasons which you think are stopping international students from coming to India for international higher education? My first question to Dr. Ghai.
Yes, Dr. Saini. So 3, I would put, you are from the organizational behavior area. So I would put culture as the, they say that culture eats strategy for breakfast. So I would put culture right at the top. We need the international student, India does have international students coming in, from Nepal and all these places. Now a student from Nepal or even Sri Lanka is an international student. We need to make the student feel comfortable. The student needs to be made feel safe in our country. That is a very important factor. There have been assaults on these international students as well in the national capital. So we need to make these students feel safe. We need to have a culture where we are accommodating, where we accept their culture, where we accept their ways, and they have to accept, and then they will feel welcome, and then they go ahead and accept our culture. So I would put culture at the top.
Okay.
The second I would place emphasis is on quality of education. So we need to work at the quality of education, and in the quality of education also, because these students are coming from different backgrounds, their schooling all the way to high school, their primary education, and their all the way to high school, they have been taught very differently. So our educators also need to understand what kind of backgrounds they are coming from, what kind of education they have undergone, and then try to take it from there. If we try to teach them, if we try to treat them just like the same as Indian students, it may not work out. So they need to be, we need to understand what kind of backgrounds they are coming from, what kind of, what has been primarily the way they have been educated all the way to higher education, 10th class or 12th class. So again, and then, we need to provide quality education. So that would be my number two. Number three would be, Professor Subbarao has picked up a lot of good points. So I will pick one point from his this thing. That we need. He spoke about the outreach programs, and one interesting topic that he picked was the hostels. So the hostels, he spoke about that, and so again, somewhere even hostel would come down to the being a part of culture. See, when Indian students go to study abroad, when our students, he gave a number, so many lakhs of students go outside every year. When Indian students go abroad, they go for the entire experience. They do not only go to learn that particular discipline. Suppose you go for a higher degree in computer science or higher degree in finance. So a student goes to a different country for the entire experience. The student wants to experience a different culture, at the same time quality education. So Indian culture needs to be brought up. Indian culture is very strong. We have our arts, we have our literature. Indian literature is very strong, and that is again coming back to NEP, which talks about mixing arts with science, and giving art equal importance. And that would again actually come down to culture. But let me put it in this way, that infrastructure would be point number three, would be infrastructure. We need to, because if you look at the universities in these countries, they have each there is a university which kind of runs an entire town. So these universities are spread out, they have big infrastructure. We need to focus on that infrastructure as well, provide them the amenities, the hostels and the amenities which need to be given, which they are used to. So that also includes the food. These students have different, their eating habits are very different. Eating habits of an Indian student and eating habits of an international student is going to be different, and we need to accept that, and we need to be able to accommodate.
Yeah.
I think once we can do that, we can be more welcoming to the student. So did I get 3 points?
Yeah, you perfectly. And I'll be more flexible with my question. And Professor Pradeep, can you just tell me one or two or three quickly, and how do you rank them in terms of importance, the reasons which affect the decision?
Yeah, see, very first is that learning environment. Our learning environment, as I told earlier also, that our learning environment is more rigid. More rigid. It's very rigid, because if you look at a university system, the things are very much structured. In examination, the assessment, the evaluation, everything is structured and very rigid. So we need a more flexible approach as far as the learning environment is concerned, because and like Professor Subbarao has very rightly said that although we all we say that we are following a CBCS system, but in principle and it's not actually like that. We are offering less choices. We are offering less choices. For example, it is very easy to say that somebody who is who is in a in a physics program want to learn music and he can learn. But you tell me one university where it is possible. It's not possible. In our university systems are not like that. We don't allow a science student to take, a subject from liberal art or a subject from social sciences or a subject, from music or dance or something like that. So we need a more flexible approach. If really, if we want to integrate this NEP and CBCS in a better way, what we have to make ourselves very flexible, because our rigidity is one hindrance. It's one difficulty to attract students. The second is, you know it's infrastructure, no doubt. It's infrastructure. As far as the staying facility of students are concerned, our hostels are really, they are not up to the mark. We really need good hostels, good accommodation where we can accommodate the students who are coming from other part of the world, provide them, a decent infrastructure to live, to learn. I think these are two major concerns, practical concerns, if we want to attract students from, from other part of the world.
Thank you, Professor Pradeep.
Yes.
Professor Naik, can I have your take on this?
Yes, definitely. I agree with the statement given by the Professor Ghai and Professor Pradeep. Now, definitely, these are the most important points which we have to keep in our mind. Besides that, I want to say that because we have a number of regulatory bodies, and our regulatory bodies regulate the different different courses. BCIE is there, that is AICT is there, NCT is there, UGC is there. So all the regulatory bodies have different type of rules and regulations, and they are very rigid. That is also one of the causes not to attract the attention of the foreign students. And besides this, very quickly, I would like to say that now we have to understand the aspiration of the foreign student. What they want. Now we shouldn't take the case study for that. What they want from us, and accordingly we can change the some systems. Um, and what is that now, as, as best as possible, as per the permissible of the finance, now we appoint the that is the international faculty. We appoint the faculty from foreign countries so that they can also marketing for us, and they are the sources who bring the students from foreign countries also. What I thought. Besides that, now our curriculum is the traditional. Till date, we are following the traditional curriculum. Now it needs to be changed, and our curriculum should be future ready curriculum should be required nowadays. So these are the things which I recommended that to attract the attention of the foreign students. Thank you.
Right, sir, well noted. And we have Professor Ajay Poddar back with us. Sir, I'll come back to you. And Professor Subbarao, can we have your opinion? What do you think are the major reasons stopping international students from taking
Yeah,
up joining higher education?
Madam, I am strongly agreeing the point which is raised by the Professor Dhruva sir, because this cross-cultural experience is very important for particularly for the international students in that. Because I have seen in the two examples I can give, once you have to, in one university, they have to attract the students from the South Africa. They make a rule that we don't allow any African student. The reason is that earlier we had a bad experience. These people are taking some drugs, and which is spoiling our existing students also. We don't take it in that. And another university which I have seen observed in that, they say that ours is a complete 100% vegetarian campus. We don't allow the foreign student. No one is interested to come from a foreign country if we make a restriction, because we have our own policies and restrictions sometimes in that. That is may restrict in the hostels and in that, because lot of cultural difference is there still. Our system is there, Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Maheshwara. We are saying in that their culture is that a professor and student will go, both they go to some place and they take drink and they come back and they sit in that. There isn't a difference in the cultural in that. First of all, we have to give a proper training before we are allocating, because we have to make a separate hostels for the students. Otherwise they are not learning our culture. Our children will learn their culture. that may be more difficult in the situation in that. Second point is that the quality of education. The quality means that I'm not saying that ours is an inferior quality, because they are more focused on the skill-based education, and they are more focused on the flexibility of the education, flexible in credit. Method of teaching is different in that. We can make in that particular way. We have to think about that. Actually, that is the best of East and the best of West. We have to mingle it in that, because in the curriculum, when you are designing in that, we can inculcate the best of East of our values, ethos, culture, mind management, yoga, where you have the expertise, we have to teach to them. At the same time, the technology, and that these things we have to take it from them. It is a combination of best of East and best of West. You can design the curriculum in that way, and you have to change there, because that is about value addition they have taken after 2 years or 4 years of course when they studied in India, which is different from the other universities in that. And the another important thing is the employability. Particularly, if you see that many of the Indian students are going abroad, not by the great university in that, because after that they will earn the money in dollars. They will get the, because once they studied in US, once they get a job in US, automatically good match. They will earn more. They send more money to their parents. They buy real estate here in that. Lot of practical things it is there in that. Instead of that, suppose you take about the last 3 years data of the students who are coming to India, maximum number of students are coming to study BTech in India. More than out of 50,000, more than 10,000 students are joined in the BTech in that. Because we have the huge number of engineering colleges, many of our private universities also an extension of the engineering colleges in that. We can make a tie-up with the industry. After completion of that also, they can get some placement in the Indian IT industry, because almost we are ruling the whole world in the IT and the service sector in that. For that, we can give something addition to the education, like that employability. Then it is an important factor to attract the many students from the foreign countries in that. The cross-cultural management is the first one. Second one is the quality education, teaching, flexibility in teaching, and training of our faculty according to the international perspective. That is also more important. And the third thing is that employability. These are the three major factors which are influencing it.
Thank you, sir. And I'll just quickly look at the points which all of you have raised. So I think the one thing which gets repeated is the quality of education or enhance the learning environment, and culture comes the next thing, right? And I just would like to mention here that I had a lot of experience handling international students at my campus, because I've been handling international affairs. And you all have very rightly pointed out, because I have significant experience in handling European students. So though we are very close to the city, beautiful Chandigarh, and it is actually designed by a French architect, Lee Corbusier. So we are in a very strategically located place, and in spite of that, when European students visit us, we face a lot of difficulties in helping them settle down. So we just look for the accommodation outside, because we cannot put them in our hostels, because as you said, there are cultural variations. The food has to be different. And there are a lot of adjustments you have to make. But since we have done it repeatedly for so many years, so we are quite learned in that, and now we are very confident how to handle them. But I can vouch on that yes, we need to make a lot of changes in our existing systems if we really want to attract international students and make them comfortable, and make them realize that they are in a good learning environment. So I'll just pick up one point from here only, because I think most of us we still, we're not very confident about the quality of education which we are importing. And as I am sure all of you would have already gone through the QS, world rankings which were released for 2022, and none of the Indian educational institutions featured in the top 100. And if I talk about the top 200, there were just 3 institutions. So what do you have to say on this, about the quality of education? I already have a question from the audience also about this, so I thought I'd take this up with you. Because we have a lot of examples to quote. There have been people who have studied in Indian education system, and they're doing wonderful, amazing jobs, outside. And Satya Nadella, Sundar Pichai, I think the list goes endless. So these are people who have educated from here, and they're just giving wonderful outside, output outside. So what is your take, and what is your stand on quality of education in India, especially higher education? I can start with Professor Ajay sir, since you were disconnected, so I can have your opinion on this first. Professor Ajay.
Thank you, Dr. Ramandeep ji. I'm sorry that because here in Hisar actually a lot of rain is going on from the last 2 3 days, and the internet services is hampered due to that. So I'm sorry with that. Coming back to the question that the quality standard of the education system in India for the foreign student, I was listening the previous speaker, and he is very clearly has said, and I am very much agree with that. That the students who are coming from outside country, they are basically coming for having the outcome. That what they are coming from their country, they need to have the outcome. And outcome in the student life is that they should get the job, and they should get the right kind of the education and skills. I was in Zambia, and there I have seen that the students who are coming for India, they are basically for the engineering programs. And then many students we were able to attract, those are for the medical students. And you know that the medical student, if you are wanted to attract the medical student, they wanted that they in the last 2 years of the clinical, they should get the training in their country itself. So those kind of things are required to be inbuilt in the Indian education system when we are actually attracting the students from the outside world. Another point is that we need to treat the foreign students also as our normal Indian students. Many time we have seen that we have a lot of restriction for the foreign student, that they should not go outside the campus after the 7, and they need to be in the campus all time. They need to produce some kind of the applications and other kind of thing before they are traveling here and there. So these kind of the restrictions actually make the students unaware of the Indian culture in a vast, and because of that reason they may not be become the ambassador to bring the other students of their country, and they will not be representing them to the country. So those kind of things are required to be understand, that the foreign students are also coming here to be treated as the normal Indian students also, or maybe some kind of a special arrangement to be done for them for the international standard of hostels, their fooding habits, and they need to be understand the culture. They need to be make aware of the Indian expectations. All those things are required to be built in the system. Again, this Indian system is not a practical based, whereas the international arena is actually a practical based education system. So we need to bring all those kind of parameter in the system, so that the foreign students are also going to be attracted for the Indian environment, and not only for the Western or Singapore or Malaysia. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Professor Pradeep, you had earlier mentioned that our outreach program, needs to be strengthened up. So that means that we need to be, globally present, and we have to reach out to international students and just tell them that how we are good at and what all we can offer to them. So, and what do you think about the quality of education? Because since we could not feature in the QS World rankings also.
See, as far as the quality of education is concerned, in some of the discipline, I believe that our education system is much better than the education system of many countries. But as I told you earlier also, that we were not able to project it in that way. See, the only hindrance is that most of the universities have, if you keep these IITs and IIMs apart, if you look at other central and state universities, most of the universities, they don't have a foreign, university cell kind of thing. And as I told earlier, that we are very poor in outreach. It's a very honest confession that as far as the public universities are concerned, universities, they don't do any effort, especially to attract students from other countries. So that is we need a policy kind of thing. We need a kind of direction to university that at least you should try to attract some 2, 3 or 1, 2, 3% of students from other countries. That can be one way where you can have more students from, because students coming from other countries means your education system is going to be more diverse in approach. So that's very much required.
Yeah, that's rightly put up. And here I'd like to mention that because NEP 2020 says that it's going to be mandatory for all education institutes to have an international student cell on their campus, right? So that has already been mentioned in NEP, but I don't think any effort has been made to strengthen up the outreach. So I believe that we need to have an outreach team also that should be operating in every institution. So, and I like to bring about another point here, which I think the discussion will remain incomplete if I don't take that up, because somebody mentioned it earlier also that there has been there is a lot of brain drain that is going on. If you look at the numbers which are moving out from India for higher education, are Indian students moving to Canada, Australia, providing them a lot of revenue, and other countries, even the European countries, a lot of Indian students are moving out. So do you think if we first stop this brain drain, do you think it is going to have a positive impact on attracting international students in India? I would like to have your take on this, Professor Subbarao.
Thank you, madam. It's very important question in that. Suppose you can take about Canada. Canada is giving the postgraduate work permit program like that, because education along with employability they are giving in that. For that, many of the Indian students are attracted by to go there. Even they take a loan, and they are going to this Australia, Canada, and much of these countries. Some are good universities are there, but all they are not great, and we are no way inferior to that actually in the curriculum wise or maybe teaching wise, basing on our professors and all these in that. But what is happening in that, after completion of the course, there is no question of job guarantee many times in India that is attracted them. And when we make the, suppose what Professor Naik sir said about that, the branding, many of the private government universities are not spending on branding in that. That is also very important, that when we can spend, suppose you take about a private university, on an average marketing, they are spent 10 to 15 crores. That may be almost a salary bill of some of the private universities, some of the government universities in that. Because they have a lot of restrictions, the policy, bureaucracy, many things will be there in that. If you want to make it to that to stop the brain drain, the only challenge is that we have to maintain collaboration with some foreign universities because of branding. Okay, this particular university in collaboration with the Cambridge, Oxford, or maybe like that, one thing. And may tie up with the Microsoft or Google for some of their courses in AI and ML or maybe data science in that. Then automatically it will attract. The one way is the branding and the recognition of a foreign university. Second one way is the employability. Then automatically the brain drain will be controlled. And we can also give a concessional finance, or maybe we can also, government can also make it in that if you get a chance to join in MIT, United States, or maybe some top Ivy League university, we will promote. But if you go to a small university, state university in US, we don't give finance to them. Then also some of the students going abroad will come down, and we can make an alternative arrangement in that. Because there are the different ways we have to control the brain drain. But before that, we have to maintain that quality, and we have to one way we can what the student is getting in abroad, that we can provide within the country. Then automatically we also save a lot of foreign exchange actually. That almost 20 billion US dollars every year is going from our country. And besides that, we can also save by attracting the more foreign students in that.
Very right, sir. I also agree on that. Because I think we again end up on the same issue of quality of education. So we should provide the international global exposure opportunities to our students, and at the same time creating those opportunities for the international students as well. So, Dr. Ghai, what do you have to say on this issue of brain drain? Do you think if we stop the brain drain, half of the job is done?
See, it's not like, it's not a formula which we solve when we say, okay, brain drain is stopped, great. We did a great job. It's not like a X equals Y formula kind of a thing. So I was also a speaker for the QS iGauge program, and we had this topic where we were talking about rankings. So I said I said a joke over there, and I'll repeat it here as well. So we talk about Sundar Pichai, and we talk about Satya Nadella, and we talk about all these people going abroad and becoming successful. We don't realize the underlying fact. The underlying fact is, there is a joke about Satya Nadella, and it is said that if Satya Nadella did not go abroad, he would probably be a software developer in TCS somewhere. So these people had to go abroad to be successful. They had to go abroad to become CEOs. They had to go abroad to become leaders. Half of NASA contains Indian scientists. Okay, but these people ended up working for United States to become successful. So we have to realize that we say that, okay, Indians are very successful, so Indian system is great. Indian system is great, but it would not give them that much success what success they are having in the other countries. So it's not like I can give you a formula right now that okay, do this and then brain drain is going to stop. A lot has to do with the economy as well. These countries, the developed world, has a very vibrating economy. Unemployment rates are really down. Unemployment rates of the United States is barely 1% or 2%. Look at the unemployment rate that our country has. Look at the kind of graduates we are churning out. I mean, there was news in the recently there was news in MP, Madhya Pradesh, that we have PhDs and MBAs applying for a job, for a job advertisement for a PN or for a guard, for a security guard or for PN. For those kind of jobs in the government, we have PhDs, MBAs, MComs applying for that kind of job. So, we need to take a long, hard look at our education system before we talk about this brain drain, because anybody who wants to who thinks who can make something of himself, or this thing is going to leave the country and go. So a lot of it has to do with the economy itself. Indian economy needs to get back on its feet. We need to take initiatives in the right direction. We have missed the bus so many times. There is, we are talking about chip shortage now. There is a chip shortage everywhere in the world, and that's why automobiles, Maruti cannot produce cars. Okay, and now we are talking about setting up fabrication plants in India. We are talking about setting up semiconductor fabrication plants in India. We missed the bus a long time ago. Who took the opportunity away from us? Now if you look at semiconductor fabrication plants, we have very few across the world: Taiwan, China, Korea, United States, and Europe. We should have boarded the bus a long time ago. And now we are talking about setting up chip fabrication plants and setting up everything when the crisis is staring us in the face. So a lot of it has to do with the economy. People go abroad, people go outside, not only for education, but they also look at their prospects after getting that education. They know that this country, United States, even a person like Satya Nadella, who's an outsider, has the opportunity to become a CEO. So we need to set up those kind of examples. Of course, now we have Wipro, the CEO of Wipro is an outsider. He's not an Indian. So we do have these things happening, trickling in the country. But, Indian economy also needs to do much better. The job prospects after completing the degree also have to be good. And of course, rankings matter. Okay. Rankings, when we talk about QS rankings, international rankings, THE rankings are like Olympics. Okay. You cannot crib rank. If there is a format, all countries are competing, India also has to compete in the same format. We have to compete, we have to rise up, we have to look at the parameters carefully, and we have to prepare for that. There is no shortcut, there is no way, there is no different way. We have to compete, and we have to rise up to the level of the global standards. Okay, so even if again I take the example which I took in the other talk. If you look at global supply chain, if you look at global trade, everybody is competing at the same level. So why not education? And that's where rankings come in. You talk about export import. Why is China being able to export, dump their product into all the markets? Because they've manufactured the cheapest product and the best product. So it's cheap, fast, good. It's cheap, it's fast, and it's good. So they're able to get it right, and they're able to dump their product across the world. So nobody can compete with them. So we need to compete and not complain. That would be my
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Ghai, and very well highlighted all the relevant points. And thank you, gentlemen, for putting in and sharing your opinion. I would have loved to continue with this discussion, but time is always a constraint. But I'm still happy that we really had a good discussion, and I think we all also have onus on our shoulders, being academicians. We have to contribute in whatever way we can. But yes, we do look up to the government to come up with some policy changes. Yes, maybe 2020 has brought a ray of hope. But then, as I said, time will tell how long it will take to get the things get better. So let's hope that we get to see better situation. We get to focus on our weak areas, and we can just put in efforts all together to improve the situation. So thank you very much once again, all the panelists, for joining us today and involving in the discussion and raising very relevant points, sharing your experience. And it was a wonderful experience for me also here to interact with all of you. And Elets, thank you once again for coming up with this wonderful theme and putting us all together on this platform. Over to you, Abhishek.
Thank you, Ramandeep, ma'am. Thank you very much for this wonderful discussion. And we have 17 more questions, ma'am, and we will mail the questions to all the panelists. If it seems relevant that you want to give the inputs for them, please mail to us back so that we can send to the audience. And I would like to request Raman to please share the token of appreciation from the World Education Summit side to all of our speakers. This speaker certificate is presented to Dr. Mrs. Ramandeep Saini, Director, Principal, Chandigarh Business School of Administration. Thank you, Ramandeep, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Speaker certificate is presented to Dr. Pramod Kumar Naik, Vice Chancellor, AISECT University. Thank you, Pramod sir. Thank you very much for joining at World Education Summit. To Professor Dr. Ajay Poddar, Pro Vice Chancellor, Om Sterling Global University, Hisar. Thank you, Ajay sir. Thank you very much for giving your precious time to World Education Summit. Speaker certificate is presented to Professor Dr. Dhruva Ghai, Pro Vice Chancellor, Oriental University, Indore. Thank you, Dhruva sir. Thank you very much. And to Professor Pradeep Nair, Professor and Director Research, Central University of Himachal Pradesh, Dharamshala. Thank you, Pradeep sir. Thank you very much for joining us at World Education Summit. And I would like to request all our audience, if you have any such query or if you want to know more regarding the innovation initiative that is going in the higher education, please follow our speakers on the social handle as well. You will get more updates regarding the latest and what are the changes right now in higher education spaces going on. So please follow our speaker, or you can also follow DL Magazine and portal on their social handles. So by this, we will wrap the last panel discussion of this 20th World Education Summit Higher Education, and I request audience to please stay tuned as we have a World Education Summit Award at 6 p.m. Thank you very much. Thank you, Ramandeep ma'am. Thank you, Pramod sir. Thank you, Dhruva sir. Thank you, Pradeep sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Ajay sir.